いつか日記帳やめたように夢の宛先もないように曖昧にどうにかやってんだそれでいいじゃんごめんなさいで生きてきたのそうやって今日も生きてきたの終電を月様眩しくて不意に伝う感情なんてただただ単調な日々に追い風を眠れない夜と踊るようにねもうちょっとだけここにいようって歌って繋いでいて今日も繋いでいて途絶えて手を振る人生にお茶碗一杯分愛情を最低限度に越して優しい夢を見るのきっと向き合う後悔に今日はちょっとだけ触れるように混ざるように笑うようにそうやって歩けるんだどうしたいって夢の中で正解を探してるどうしたいって夢の中で正解を探してる明日も探
God bless America. Welcome back to United States Cup, everybody, for the first match of the semifinals. We've got an absolute banger of a matchup to start off our Saturday. It is Oregon versus Minnesota, two teams who have turned heads consistently in this tournament this year. Oregon making it through their previous rounds in style, only losing to Virginia, our fourth seed, and previous running-up winners from last year in tiebreaker from the winners bracket last week. And Minnesota on the back of an unbelievable tiebreaker performance to beat out all of their matches last weekend through the losers bracket, defeating Carolina, our sixth seeded tournament team in the entire tournament. We have some unbelievable stuff for you today, and I will be joined today by none other than Miles, who is back, first cast of USC.
Finally, dude. I mean, I've been watching every match on my phone. It's just been sad not to be able to commentate any of them. But yeah, dude, Oregon and Minnesota, we are in the semifinals weekend, seed 12 and seed 19. Both of these teams are already in their best placement ever in USC. And winning this matchup would be securing a spot in, I believe, top 8. Right now, both these teams are top 12, best placement ever. But getting top 8 is a whole different story. And I think in this quadrant of losers bracket, the winner of this match is going to be facing the winner of Pennsylvania and Connecticut. Both of those opponents, I think, if either of these teams can get past each other, they're going to feel confident in that next round. So a lot is on the line in this matchup here for Oregon and Minnesota. But as you mentioned, Oregon coming off some insane momentum, being able to take a team like Virginia to tiebreaker.
They were looking good, and this was a week that, honestly, there's been some contested and mixed feelings about Virginia this year. They didn't look too good in the early rounds. They actually almost got knocked down to the losers bracket by Wisconsin in the round of 32, being only one map off of tiebreaker, and that's a Wisconsin that was missing a hot bread as their best player. And it was looking a little shaky for them, but they really cleaned it up last week. But Oregon, they stood the test of time. They withheld all of their nerves and put forth their best foot, and the 12th seed making it through, as well as Minnesota. This is best placement ever for them, and a major one at that. A 19th seed being in a top 8 placement would be unheard of for United States Cup. We never see upsets like this. Oregon, I feel like we almost expect a certain level of stardom from them at this point. They were turning heads last year. They started making waves the year before. They've got some stellar players. You know, you look at someone like Boshi, man, to really be that leader to push them through. But over the years, they've gained so many other awesome players that have brought them to where they are today. Eddie has been an unbelievable face for Oregon this year. And the weeks that Eddie shows up, you should be terrified no matter the team that you are. We've got Luna Tabby pulling up from the 4-digit World Cup team, previously known as Schwartz, but Luna is going to be an amazing gimmick face for them as usual. It is that star performance, multiple badges now. I remember before Luna was putting up any badges, and now they're just like a lord of the tournament scene for some reason, as well as Tainamo Chang and Rinko Shirokane, who are joining them from previous years. So Oregon's got some serious stardom going for them right now. And I don't know what to expect from them today, but if they're feeling it, Minnesota's got to be scared.
Yeah, I mean, this Oregon team, I think it's kind of underrated how well-rounded they are this year, because it's like they have that core three of players who have won World Cup tournaments. Boshi Man, of course, being that captain, joined by Schwartz and Eddie. So Schwartz, one of the best gimmick players, Eddie, one of the best speed players, and then joined by Tynamo, Rinko, and Chang, who all kind of fill their niche. So they're always able to have a really strong three-man lineup on every single map. And Minnesota, I feel like we haven't really spoken much on their story. So their roster this year, they've got Swick, joined by Eves, LeBrooklyn James, Lillian, MQTE, and Yodestin. I think a lot of people remember the match they had last year where they were able to take SoCal to tiebreaker in what was one of the closest tiebreakers I think I've ever seen in this tournament. They won on SoCal won off a slow ending. They were really close to one of the biggest upsets of all time in that match. But I think for them, all eyes are really going to be on Swick and Destin and Lillian here. And I think their task for this match is going to be to have a third to support Swick and Destin, because they haven't really gotten to this late of a stage ever in USC. So they have those two players who we know are going to be raring to go with their skill cap. But are they going to have the third to really go up against the well-roundedness that Oregon has? I think that's going to be the big question of this match.
It's the one that I'm asking too, and we've got to look at the stats from last week too. Overall, for best teams in the tournament last weekend, Oregon coming in 4th overall for performance. That is as a 12th seed, with the 3 teams above them being in order: Virginia, New York, and Texas. Mind you, that is the 4th seed, the 2nd seed, and the 7th seed. That's a 5 seed difference at the minimum and a 10 seed difference at the maximum. And Oregon is going toe-to-toe with teams of that caliber who are expected to be in the top 8 based on seeding. So for them to continue to maintain this sort of status and be the #1 team on multiple maps, actually, they were the best team last weekend on location for the Hidden 2. They were also the best team on Hard Rock 2 for Pennsylvania, which was regarded as one of the more difficult maps in the pool overall. And that's not to discount Minnesota whatsoever, who were the #1 team score on the Unforgiving with a 2.2 million team score on that map. An unbelievable performance, as well as one of the most amazing scores across multiple other maps. Swick putting up his best performance of the tournament so far, placing 3rd overall for player values, besting any player on his team and Oregon combined. So really looking for what Swick is going to be able to do for his team this week.
Bans coming out: Oregon banning out the Nomad 3 and Minnesota banning out the DT1. Actually, I lied. It's the opposite. Minnesota banning out the Nomad 3.
No!
And they're banning out Agony, so it looks like Minnesota does not want to play Precision in this matchup, and quite honestly, I don't blame them. Going up against a team with Boshi Man and Schwartz, Future Bossa and Agony, those bans make a lot of sense. DT1 ban from Oregon, and then HR3 ban from Oregon. Didn't really expect the HR3 ban to come out from them, but that DT1 ban against a team like Minnesota, both of their strong players, Swick and Destin, really strong on the aim and the DT, so that ban makes a lot of sense to me. Maybe that HR3 is just like a feeling ban. You just see that map, you're like, I don't really want to play that one, and I don't blame him. Really awkward.
If you're good with the aim too on Tohoki Jinretsu, I do have to say that that aim section in between the bursts can catch you off guard, especially at the BPM that it's at. And I think given the players that Minnesota has, you know, you expect a player like Swick to do well on it. I think Lillian is going to play that map really well in most cases. And I feel like actually in previous weeks, we haven't seen Prime Destin come out yet. He's actually been having a little bit of a slower start to the tournament so far. And if you catch Destin on a good day, and I imagine in semifinals they're going to be ready and warmed up, that's really going to be where the difference is going to be made. And if you catch Destin on a good day on mechanics, then you might as well just give up there, because Swick Destin on a duo is going to shut down any non-mechanics team opponent that you're going to see. And the DT1's a little bit awkward for Oregon, but it is one of the faster DTs overall, and I think DT2 does have more variability for them. The Fremont 4 ban, like, you don't ban Fremont 4. You just leave it open and leave it to chance. Like, you can't ban it. It's impossible.
I think you do against Oregon, actually. Like, against most teams, you'd be fine leaving open the jank map to chance. But Boshi Man is throughout the years, I mean, just remember R176. That guy is he is the king of this country when it comes to jank maps like that. And when you have another supporting gimmick player like Schwartz, it's just curtains, honestly.
It's going to be first pick Oregon. I am imagining something along... That's literally what I was going to say. I know I didn't say it, but I swear to God, I was eyeing Nomad 5. It's the most gimmicky map in the entire Nomad pool. I actually think it's the most gimmicky map left in the entire pool, aside from maybe Jazz's Rad. Everything else here has some element of mechanics to it that has been defined by multiple players. I do think DT4 would work really well for Oregon as well. A lot of people have said that the bursts and the streams in the map start to sort of catch some of the less mechanically oriented players off guard. But that's sort of the beauty of having someone like Boshi or, Luna Schwartz on your team, is going to be they can play the tapping maps in between the gimmick. They have the mechanical ability to boost their options a little bit more, and I do think both of those are going to be great picks for them later on, aside from this Nomad 5.
We have got Lenny. There is exactly one person in chat who will get what I just said, Consumer Bean. But yeah, this is it's just awkward. It's a half slash map. Really awkward angles on this. It's just really difficult if you aren't well practiced on it, if you don't know the rhythms, the stacks as well. It can really trip you up. So we're gonna see what the rosters are here. Looks like Oregon, Boshi Man and Eddie could expect Schwartz to take that final spot. Meanwhile, Minnesota, we've got Swick, Mate, and Lillian in the lobby. No Destin on this pick.
Understandable. This is, in my mind, an anti-Destin pick. I think this has a little bit too much reading for a gimmick map for Destin to be super comfortable. I do hope they have Destin today. I haven't heard anything from Minnesota, but I didn't see Destin in for the warm-up. So you always start to be a little bit scared early on of missing a mechanics player for Minnesota, but I'm going to assume that they do have Destin, just not in for this map. I do think Lillian, Mate, and Swick is a good roster for this map, but I also think that any roster you put up against Oregon on this map is likely not going to be super successful, given this trio that they have.
Yeah, no, just scary trio. You've got multiple-time OWC winner and one-time 4WC winner as of a few months ago on this map. Just really star-studded roster from Oregon that has seen so much success through this tournament. I'm going to see an early break come out from Mate. Going to see really early who's comfortable on this based on the accuracy. Mate all the way down at 95 just out of the beginning, and it's only going to get harder from here into the Ki section. Oh, I lied. It's not the Ki section. Still more build-up.
You do actually have double 4WC on the bottom, too. Eddie and Schwartz both pulling up on that 4WC roster this year for the United States, and man, both of them played out of their minds the entire tournament. And that coupled with Boshi, the consistency on this roster, just looking so strong for these gimmick picks. Eddie's sitting a little bit lower on the accuracy, but foregoing accuracy for combo on a map like this is very valid. And with Mate finding the first influential break, Boshi's going to give them a little bit of an opportunity to find some score back here. Unfortunately, Lillian trading the miss out of his Swick to stand alone. 98% accuracy for him. It's a double FC versus the one. It's 100k, and his teammates finding breaks is not going to help Swick out any bit here. But halfway through the map, there is still potential to see a miss on some of these gimmicky patterns, and it's going to be Luna. It's Eddie versus Swick.
Eddie versus Swick. And Eddie has lower accuracy, so if he does end up finding a break on this difficult section coming up, this could be solo carryable for Swick, but he needs to hold on, and he finds the break. He miss-snaps right there, and that's probably going to be it for Minnesota on this pick. Eddie holding on. Not the player you'd expect to be the gimmick awkward aim control player on this roster, but the only one to hold on. Boshi and Schwartz continue to break, but Eddie is holding on 97%. He's just going on.
Eddie has just been the star for Oregon this year. I think a lot of people's eyes naturally drift towards Boshi when you look at Oregon, but this year, United States Cup 2025, it's been Eddie, unironically, every single week. And
what
Boshi
miss, dude?
Whoa, that's such a silly miss. And Boshi's been right alongside him. And look at this, 730k and climbing into the ending for Eddie. Absolutely nothing Minnesota can do about this, and a 440k victory for Oregon on their first pick. Minnesota, never a chance on this Nomad 5.
I wouldn't say never a chance. If Eddie broke earlier and Swick FC'd, that could have been doable. I mean, 400k.
That's if you dropped Boshi, they still would have won. If Bashi didn't play the map, Oregon won. To me,
Okay,
that's
well,
like that. To me, that's dominance right there. Like,
okay, that's we'll say so. Okay, instant ET3, instant ET3 coming out from Minnesota. Makes sense. After a gimmick map, you want to start with stamina. Oh yeah, this is the map you want to pick if you're trying to speed abuse a team.
oh yeah, this is the one right here. The DT3, the finger control stamina map, pulling through for Minnesota here, and I do think the Lillian Swick Destin combo on this could be very dangerous.
Absolutely. I mean, the finger control strain on this is just through the roof. It's 4 minutes and 57 seconds, I think, after DT. So one of the longest maps in the pool. And it's just relentless. It doesn't really stop. You don't really have a rest at all during this. So if you have the stamina for this, you're going to really be able to get a good score, I think, because of how consistent it is. No Destin?
No Destin today.
He's
no.
offline?
Oh, no.
Okay, that is...
Kira, you can't tell me that. Kira, you can't say that to me. You
that
can't,
is
like...
not good. That is really not good for Minnesota.
You know what? We'll take it. Who's Minnesota's next best player for this map? Let's take a look at the roster. In my mind, LeBrooklyn James, probably then? Or Eves, maybe? No, Eves... I don't know. It's tough with Eves, because I do think that Eves definitely has the ability to play these mechanics ones well, but I feel like Eves is more like the hard rock, like, flow aim, so that could be interesting. I do think Eves might be close, but it is going to be LeBrooklyn James. Okay, yeah, I was sort of thinking that LeBrooklyn James would be the one, but you know what? I gotta boost up the boy Eves. I feel like he might have a good time on this too, but maybe it's too stamina intensive by the ending. This is about almost, just under 5 minutes.
Mm-hmm. I agree with Yoshi in the chat. If they're first picking it, they have to have a plan for this. So perhaps someone is warmed up. Someone has tuned their rapid trigger, has drank a couple cups of coffee, maybe some stimulants. You're ready for the DT. You're ready for the stamina. And gonna first pick it into an Oregon team that appears to have a little bit of a weakness here on the high-end stamina, apart from Eddie up at the top. Rinko Shirokane has been a reliable fill up until this point in the tournament on this type of pick. We're going to see if he can manage to hold on into a map more difficult than we've seen so far in USC for him.
Yeah, this is going to be far more difficult mechanically than anything that we will see likely in the future here. And honestly, both of these teams have trended away from these mechanics maps thus far, so it's a little bit surprising that they're jumping into this map very early on. Now, we sort of expect Swick to be good at this sort of thing, and honestly, Lillian holding pretty good accuracy despite messing up one of the patterns at the beginning. The problem is gonna be that third. I mean, they just don't have a third, and unfortunately for Minnesota, actually, Lillian, despite having really solid accuracy, is not able to put up a good combo right now.
Lillian really needs to get that combo together. If you can get good accuracy on this, you need to get the combo to support Swick here. Because right now, the accuracy lead is squarely in favor of Minnesota right now, aside from LeBrooklyn James and combo as well. So it's going to flip over to Minnesota, but they need to hold on. And Lillian finds a break on that triple. Now Swick is all alone up against combos on Oregon. Despite the massive accuracy lead, it is Swick, the raid boss right now, trying to hold off Oregon.
It needs to be Swick. I mean, there is 1,000 combo on Oregon right now between all their players versus Swick's 900. He needs one of his teammates to put up a good score right now, and unfortunately, it's continuous breaks from LeBrooklyn James at an 87% accuracy. Lillian finally putting up a 200, which is saving Minnesota from really going down in score right now. With the aim looking a little bit uncertain from Lillian, worries me for another future break potentially on the more intense sections. It's all on Swick, though. As long as he holds the combo, there is going to be a way for Minnesota to win this pick. All it's going to take is one break from Oregon. The problem is there needs to be a break from Oregon for this to go back over, and they are not finding it in this section.
And there goes Swick finding the drop, and now there's no big combo left on the side of Minnesota, and Oregon, by God, they are combo gaming this. All three members up above 700 combo, even with the poorer accuracy. Swick's 98 doesn't matter if he doesn't have a combo, and the combo is there for Oregon.
Triple break from Oregon. Lillian and the Brooklyn James bring this back. They're actually doing a really good job of putting up supporting combos right now. Unfortunately, Oregon really cleaned their shit up into the ending. 1,000 combo on Luna's Tabby. Eddie with 1,000 combo. Rinko Shirokane finally finds a break, but it's 230k. Brooklyn James has missed, and Lillian cannot do this on their own. It's a double break from Oregon, but they needed a triple long ago.
Yeah, good recovery from Lillian, but it just wasn't enough in the end. And we see 700k, 670k, and about 500k, another well-rounded team score from Oregon. Even if the act wasn't there, they were ready to combo game that, and that's going to be a first pick break point for the side of Oregon now. And with the math there, even if Swick FC, that wouldn't have been enough.
Would not. That's an almost 2 million team score from Oregon on that map, which I would venture to say is going to be one of the more impressive team scores on this of the weekend, aside from maybe some of our really, really good mechanics teams in here overall. But even then, the finger control does start to take its toll on you on this map. And Oregon already starting to strut their stuff here, 12th seed, proving to us that United States Cup running BWS seeding leads to moments like this more often than you'd expect.
Dude, Oregon have just been bracket terrorists this year, man. At seed 12 being this strong, like they took the scalp of my New Jersey out in round of 16. That wasn't a fun watch.
That's tough. That's tough.
Messed up stuff. But still, we're never having qualifiers. Not until me and Dada are dead.
So true, actually. So true. Remove the entire team and maybe you would get qualifiers. Even then, we're going to have a signed trust document that says the next hosts of United States Cup one day cannot change any of the rulings.
No, you know what we need to do? You know what we need to do? We need to have like a council of seeding where we bring together the biggest brains in all of OSU who just know absolutely everything, and we need to manually seed the teams based on how we think how good they are.
True. One player from every state that isn't on their United States Cup team will all come together to decide the seedings.
The Shadow Council. Oh my god, We got Jazz's Rad.
Oh, hell
Makes
yeah.
sense from Oregon.
This map is harder than the top diff, by the way. I just want to let everyone know that. This Halgo diff is literally, like, I'm gonna go ahead and say this is objectively harder than the top diff. It's so much more dense. The sliders overlap a hell of a lot more, and with the hidden, that just makes this so uncomfortable compared to the spacing on the top, and I think that makes this a great map for Oregon.
Yeah, no, the Halgo diff is Freaky Friday, and Oregon woke up in Chris Brown's body.
Oh, Lord. Oh, Lord.
Okay, Minnesota, I don't know what you do against Oregon on this. They're just going to look so good on this, I think.
They're going to be amazing, I think. Minnesota does have the potential to put up some good scores on this map, but again, I just think on, like, density, gimmick, hidden, Oregon is going to be the ones who are going to turn heads on this map. I think the only other team this weekend that's going to be super, super good at this map is going to be, like, Washington. I think they have a great roster for this, too.
We're seeing Dynamo come in for the first time for Oregon. Has been the fill for a lot of different things. More of the gimmickier maps where Eddie would sit out to join Schwartz and Bashi, man. Go up against Eves, Lillian, and Swick for Minnesota. This is going to be a scary pick here for Minnesota, I think. But we just spent the last minute talking about why. Let's see how it goes.
That is potentially a turning point in this match. This would be a 3-0 for Oregon on their own pick, forcing Minnesota to not only win their own map, but they're going to need a break point back from that second. And this is going to be not looking too good for Minnesota at the start. Fortunately, Oregon finding quite a few breaks. Again, these dense sliders are just so hard to consistently hit. And it's going to be Lillian through the intro for the big combo on Minnesota. Unfortunately, Eves and Lillian both getting sent down to hell. Bashi, man, 330 combo, 99% accuracy, the best in the lobby by literally 4%, and that's even over his own teammates.
Yep. This is just part of that era of Halgo where the small intestine sliders and the aim control are just so brutal. It's like, I just called them small intestine sliders. It's like your cursor is the Taco Bell going through them. They're just impossible to get through, you know?
Bashi just makes this map look way too easy. Like, I want to point out to everyone in chat here, I'm sure most people know, This map is not this easy. 98.5% accuracy on this map is unbelievable. Finally dropping some on these longer sliders. But the fact that he is able to forego the accuracy to hit these slider ticks, to be able to aim to the slider heads and hold that combo down, even through these 1/3 wiggle patterns with the back and forth kick sliders, this is going to be the single best score on this map of this weekend. I'm going to call it right now. If Boshi FCs this, it will be the #1 score of the weekend. I am so sorry, Boshi.
Dude, he was low-key. He could have maybe double 1v3'd if he FC'd this. I mean, it looks like Minnesota's going to make that mathematically impossible, like, right now, but still, 1v3 from Mr. Boshi Man, 741. Good shit.
Could still be the best score of the weekend. This could very easily still be the #1 solo score of the weekend. It was 781,000 score in favor of Oregon. That's 1K less than what or more than what Boshi had, and the entire team score on Minnesota was 600K, which is almost 200K less than what Boshi had. So on literally both mathematical accounts here, Boshi Man almost 1v2'd on the score difference and the total score of Minnesota. So he almost 1v2'd his teammates and them. I think he did both.
I think the real indictment here is that Dynamo and Schwartz would have 2v3'd this, because they were up by 781 and Boshi got 780. So
yeah,
Boshi could have 1v3'd and Schwartz and Dynamo could have 2v3'd. So that just shows how dominant Oregon was on that map. That says a lot. You didn't need your 1v3 player to win the map. Like, does anyone here realize how absurd that is to say? The player who 1v3'd was unnecessary. Unreal.
That's crazy gimmick levels from Oregon there. Like, no shade to Minnesota. That map is freaking hard, and I commend them for powering through that with their roster. That map is a lost cause against almost every team against Oregon. I think most people would have banned that map out in the first place. And Minnesota going to go in for an absolutely awesome tech map in Nomad 2. It's going to be Synthesis, and Minnesota a fairly strong tech team as evidenced in previous weekends. Oregon also pretty good at this.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I think this ban phase was just really unfortunate for Minnesota, because you either had to bite the precision bullet, and not just the precision bullet, the ultra precision bullet.
The easy bullet.
The Nomad 3 is CS6, and CS6 AR2, by the way. So you just aren't playing that against them. And then also Agony, CS8. So you had to either take those two maps or the two aim control alt/tech maps in the Nomad 5 and the Hidden 3. So just the fact that Oregon had those four that I would say could potentially be like called guaranteed wins in this matchup, just I think a really tough pool matchup for this Minnesota team more than anything.
This is going to be a tough ask from them in the remainder of this match. This was an uphill battle to start, and Minnesota is an unbelievably good team. But, you know, we talked about it at the start. Oregon being a top 4 performing team in the quarterfinals is unheard of for a 12 seed. They literally outplaced their overall seeding by a factor of 3. That is something that not many teams can do. And Minnesota, again, they did okay in the quarterfinals. They placed 14th overall, which does outplace their seed by 5 placements in terms of performance. But it still says a lot that Oregon is so versatile, despite being regarded pretty regularly as a gimmick team, that even a roster as strong as Minnesota is not able to find a strong avenue to pick into because their roster depth goes that far.
But in the meantime, they have picked and started Synthesis. This is a Nomad 2 kind of a tech map here, which I think is a bit of an odd selection after Jazz's Rad went the way it is, but that map, a lot of its difficulty made from the aim control and the hidden. This one a more straightforward tech map on Nomad. So maybe Minnesota has the comfort to put up some good scores here. Eves and Lillian both finding early breaks, so Swick is all alone against 3 early.
This map we saw yesterday between Texas and Oklahoma already, so we have a baseline for what team scores are roughly going to look like on this map between the first two matches, and Oregon already looking very strong. Boshiman and Luna Stabby both holding through this introductory section here. If they're both able to make it through this, that's going to be on par for the best team score of the weekend, far surpassing Texas's on this map. It's going to be Swick still holding for Minnesota. Teammates not very close behind, unfortunately. Lillian about 70k back, but it's Boshi and Luna holding. But Bubble Buzz Slider break triple for everyone, and that section once again claims the lives of many players in here. We have seen literally 2 players this entire weekend out of the 12 who have played this map hit that Buzz Slider section, by the way. 2.
They were just talking about that in map pool feedback, man. That Buzz Slider section is so brutal. Caught out the whole lobby, and a full map reset is good for the team in the lead. So Oregon gonna be fine with that. As a couple more breaks come in, and Swick is tilted.
The flow aim section catching him off guard here, which is not where you want to see any breaks. Fortunately for Swick, Eve's also having an equal amount of trouble on that section, and not the section to Cursor Dance in. I mean, it was only 110k in favor of Oregon. In this ending section, there is plenty of chances to see a break at the ending. We actually saw a great combo from only one player at the ending of this section in the first match this weekend, coming out of Flames Tier, who got actually their max combo in this ending section, but everyone else was not able to put up anything higher than 300 or 400, so it's very possible to pull this section back if you hold your aim control.
Yeah, I mean, you really get a lot of combo back during that slow part here, so if you lock in for this section, you can get a massive combo as we get into this final crescendo. Seeing a couple breaks now, Boshiman, Schwartz, Swick, whole team wipe for Minnesota. It's only Eddie holding, not anymore. So it's going to be a full lobby reset, 220k in favor of Oregon. Boshiman chain misses, but looks like smooth sailing going into the ending here for Oregon.
Tough map, considering, you know, a team like Oregon, despite being a 12 seed, as good as they are at tech, having this much of a struggle on the map that all 3 of their players are sitting in that mid to high 300k range, really speaks to how difficult this map is to hold a combo through. And it looks like they're going to be able to put up some decent stuff into the ending here, but unfortunately for Minnesota, they just didn't have the overall roster to beat out Oregon, generally having a better third on this map. You know, Swick matching one of the players on Oregon here. Lillian not too far behind, but, you know, that Eve score, unfortunately, being a little bit closer to 80k behind is just too much of a gap on the 3, and that is going to be Oregon taking yet another breakpoint. Not the #1 team score of the weekend, but it is very good from Oregon, 1.149 million. The team score to beat on this map is still 1.337 million. But a very good performance from the 12 seed on Oregon, and that is going to solidify them a 4-0.
Yeah, I mean, 4-0, dude. It's do or die now for Minnesota. Oregon, it's their next pick now. If they win this, they go up to match point. Minnesota need to at least gather their bearings, try and at least shoot for something on that last pick. But now the ball is in Oregon's court, and they have a lot of shit to choose from. Only 4 maps gone from this map pool. Got an entire Hard Rock pool there available to them.
I feel for Minnesota in this scenario. You are fighting what is on paper an uphill battle from the start of the match. You are, you know, down on your luck with 2 breakpoints, unfortunately. You know, I'm surprised Minnesota hasn't picked a little bit more into the mechanics, but again, you know, missing a player like Destin in a semifinals matchup for an elimination match is also just a really big hit to the team, you know, morale overall. I feel for the place Minnesota is in because I have been here before too, and it's a rough spot. I don't doubt that Minnesota doesn't have at least one more map up their sleeve, but they've got to get a break point here and now. This is going to be an Oregon pick to put them on match point. That's a 5-0 for Minnesota, meaning even if they win their own map, that only goes 5-1 in Oregon back on their own pick to basically just go in and pick something like Free Mod 3, where the Hard Rock player maybe gets outclassed, and then the hidden players duke it out, and it's left up to the last one, and Oregon generally wins those close, you know, matchups overall here. So I feel for Minnesota. They're down but not out, and this No Mod 4 is going to be a grueling start to this comeback for them.
At this phase in the match, it just makes me realize how deep this map pool is for Oregon. They picked this No Mod 4, another finger control flow aim map. I say another. This is a lot different from a lot of the other maps that have been picked, but this is still kind of in that sort of lane of jankiness that really goes to Oregon's favor. Like you could put Bashi, Schwartz, and Eddie in on this, and I don't know how many rosters in this tournament can beat that. Shirayama Himenokami. I think a lot of people know this song for the Rust Bell map of this, but there is a big ranked set of it, Lucent did, and this Devious Panda map is no exception to the weirdness that the other maps of this song exhibit.
Mild question. I was thinking about this the other day, looking at my previous scores on this map. Is this the same diff that was in Hard Rock and Hippo Cup like 5 years ago?
Yes.
Is this the one that was in Hippo Cup 5?
Yeah, I think it was.
I think this was in I think this was the Grand Finals Hard Rock and Hippo Cup 5, which says a lot about the difficulty of this map. If Hippo Cup is pulling this map in Hard Rock and you are using it in its intended format to be a gimmick map in a semifinals pool a couple of years later in a regional tournament as good as the United States is, that says a lot about the difficulty of this map. I mean, like, the best score... Now, we've only had one match this weekend before this one, but this map was also played. The score to beat currently is Decatur with a 781,000. To put into perspective that score that somebody in this match would have to beat, the next closest score was a 388k, and that was basically what every other player in the entire lobby got on both teams. So this is star performanceable from both of these teams, which is why I give Minnesota potentially the benefit of the doubt that they could take a break point on this. If Oregon somehow isn't able to pull up a good combo, and Minnesota finds one player who's having a good day with the flow aim and these, you know, quick bursts, this could go very badly for Oregon very quick.
Yeah, and we just see out of the beginning,
oh boy,
three-way miss from Minnesota. Eddie's the only one to drop from Oregon, and we've got a couple big combos from Bashi and Schwartz. And accuracy from those two, actually stellar, because this song is in 1/5, I think.
Yeah.
So not typically a rhythm that people are used to playing, as you can check with the accuracies on literally everyone else. Very low.
A tough map, to say the least. Like, a tough map is really not the best way of describing this, because it's both technically difficult and mechanically difficult. You have to have the bursting ability to play these quick streams, but you also have to have the aim ability to snap between the bursts and the sliders, which do have an awkward amount of spacing between them. And right now, Oregon navigating this extremely well. The double FC still standing. An amazing combo on Eddie to back it up. And it is Lillian to unfortunately drop that 400 big combo alongside Swick. That is now a 1v3 huge combo for them. 400k in favor of Oregon. And I'd say this map might be done and dusted.
Yeah, I mean, this is just Oregon in their playground right now. Going into the last quarter, still Bashi and Schwartz. Eddie on the reverse choke. And yeah, it's just really tough place to be for Minnesota here. Missing Destin, going into an Oregon team with an incredibly deep pick strategy. And this score just...
They don't double FC this, right?
How does Bashi have 99, man? Oh, okay, he drops down to 98.5.
But they're double FC. Dude.
Okay, Schwartz finally drops, but
oh my God,
this is an unbelievable team score, guys. Even
this
with the
insane.
Eddie 400k, Bashi and Schwartz just putting on a clinic here on this pick. They both do break into the end, but still 2 million team score on such a difficult Nomad map. That's nuts.
That's insane. That is unbelievable from Oregon. A double 700k plus. Bashi above 850k. And the lowest score on the side of Oregon was Eddie at 400,000. I do want to point out Swick at 600k from Minnesota, and unbelievable stuff from them. 95% accuracy, which is more along what we're sort of expecting for this map, I feel like. But that is a great performance from Swick once again from Minnesota. Unfortunately, not their pick, and a super gimmicky map means that Minnesota does lose that third. And unfortunately, not an amazing time for Lillian. Clearly not enjoying the experience on that map. And a tough ask for them as we go into what is potentially the final pick of this match. If Minnesota is not able to make a serious turnaround here, this is Oregon putting on a show for us.
I don't even know what the pick strategy here is for Oregon. I think with their with their first pick, they were trying to go for like a double comfort thing between Swick and Lillian. But I don't know like which map in this pool you could have Swick plus another player be really comfortable while also overlapping with one of Oregon's weaknesses. Like, I guess if you want to continue in that speed, I guess if Lillian can tap free mod 1, that might be worth it. But they're going to go no mod 1. Okay. This is entirely different from what I thought. Maybe they're just picking a tune.
I think knowing the roster of Minnesota and knowing how they've performed in previous weeks, a lot of how Minnesota has been riding as a team, especially last week, was very much on how Swick was performing. Swick was a top 3 player last weekend, and not to discount the performance of the rest of the Minnesota roster, who did extremely well overall on this pool. Swick being the 3rd best player of the weekend, and his next closest teammate being Lillian at 74th overall in quarterfinals, leaves a pretty stark gap in performance of this team compared to a team like Oregon, which had Eddie and Boshi Man at 19th and 20th respectively. The next closest player coming in, going to be Luna at top 50 overall too, leaves a significantly larger portion of this Oregon roster sitting in the top end of tournament players for that weekend, meaning their overall consistency is really going to be stronger into a harder pool like this weekend. And with coupling missing Destin, who is one of the best mechanics players on the side of Minnesota, really lowers the prime picking strategy that you have if you're Minnesota, which is picking mechanics into a very gimmick-oriented team like Oregon, and potentially losing that third who would win you a lot of those maps. So this is just such a tough spot for them.
Yeah, and man, they're playing an AIM map, and it just makes me think, man, what if Destin was here? That guy on the AIM, he would shred this pick.
Imagine Minnesota with Destin and Ampy. Like, how breathtaking that would be.
Don't talk about Ampy. I know they've been trying to get Ampy to play literally since the dawn of time. It's never going to happen.
Dude, imagine Minnesota would genuinely be like a guaranteed top 8 team with Ampy, I swear to God.
Yeah, here we go. Potentially the last pick of this match with the... Oh, Schwartz.
Okay. All right. Oh, Eddie? Wait a second.
Okay.
Oregon not looking good at the start, and this map is not
long. We
long.
might be primed to see the first lead of the match for Minnesota. Actually, second. They had the lead for a point on another. But this is a good spot for them. Couple breaks early from Oregon. We see Lillian and Swick with the FCs. This map isn't very long, so the breaks will be impactful instantly.
Low ACK on Lillian, but it's low ACK on Boshi, who has that FC too. So if either of those break, it's going to be big. Swick, this is Swick's skill set. This alt quick aim is 100% his zone, and there's a big break from Boshi. That's the last FC on the side of Oregon. Eddie not too far behind. It's a double break, and it's all on Lillian. Lillian finds the break, but Eddie trades. It's going to be Schwartz to hold it down for Oregon, but it trades. Wait, Minnesota could potentially hold this pick now. That's a complete collapse from both teams and saves Minnesota with 10k to the ending, but they're breaking so often. This is going to go back and forth so quick.
Oh, there's a couple misses from Mate and Lillian, throwing it back in favor of Oregon. Swick misses, and it looks like now going into the ending, they need a chain miss from Oregon, but I don't think it's going to come. Not on an AIM map. You can't find a chain miss on an AIM map, Chillier.
97% from Eddie, too clearly comfortable on this. It's going to be another full team reset for Minnesota. Luna's going to find a break, but it's 150k and climbing in favor of Oregon. It's Eddie at the 400 combo. A double break from Oregon, but I think it's too late. There's so little time, and there's no combo on Minnesota, and Oregon has just simply made it work in dominant fashion. A 6-0 for the 12th seed as Oregon advances to their best placement in United States Cup ever.
I mean, this was already both of their best placements ever. This is Oregon going above and beyond. Now, top 8. They have the chance to go into the finals round in SF2 against the winner of Connecticut and Pennsylvania, which I believe will be played later tonight. Meanwhile, Minnesota, this performance, I know it was a 6-0, but this USC from them truly was special. Nothing to scoff at. Getting 6-0'd when you still got your highest placement ever. They are going to be achieving top 12, and they're going to be bowing out. GG, well played.
love that Minnesota looked better this year than they did last year. That suggests improvement, it suggests consistency, and it means that we have a lot to look forward for them next year. Oregon, likewise, we still get to see a little bit more of them, so if you're an Oregon fan, keep looking out because they are here to stay for at least one more match. That bracket is looking currently as Oregon advancing to losers round 5 here. Texas on the other half of the lower bracket also advancing to that losers round 5. And awaiting them is Pennsylvania, Connecticut winners, and Colorado and Washington winners. Both of those will be decided tonight at 2 UTC and 3:30 UTC. That's 47 minutes and 2 hours from now. In between that, also a winner's bracket match, New York versus South California, a previous winner of United States Cup, facing off against a previous runner-up of United States Cup for the chance to advance to a guaranteed top 3 finish in the winner's bracket finals. Followed at the end of the weekend by North California versus Virginia. Also, 2 previous winners facing off.
Dude, tonight is stacked. Look at that schedule. 46 minutes, an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours. Strap in, guys. Order some DoorDash because we've got some late night USC After Dark, perhaps, coming out in semifinals. So grab your drink of choice because we're in for a long one.
Stop by the liquor. No, I don't condone drinking, actually. No, stop by the liquor. Yeah, do it. No. Late night USC is the time to let loose. Get ready for that stuff. Miles and I will be back for some late night USC as well as many other casters joining us for this evening in a very exciting set of matches. Congratulations to Oregon for their best finish ever. Congratulations to Minnesota for their best finish ever. As sad as it is to say goodbye to them, we thank them for playing USC once again, one of our longest standing United States Cup teams that continues to come back year after year. And we will catch you all in 45 minutes when we are back for the next set of matches. See you then.